Thanks, actor. Well, if you're new to cruising, deciding where to go and what company to go with can sometimes leave you feeling a bit at sea, even before you've set sail. With so much choice, it's difficult to know where to start. Location-wise, you can go almost anywhere. There's a river or an ocean, but choose carefully, especially if you want to enjoy the ship as much as the shore. If you go for a Caribbean or Mediterranean cruise, for example, you could spend almost every day at a different port. It's great if you want to see lots of places, but it makes for very little time at sea. The Caribbean and the Med are also the most popular cruise destinations in the world, which means you and your 1,000-odd fellow passengers might not be the only ones ashore. Talking of passengers, it might be worth considering whom you want to travel with as well. Cruise ships are often referred to as floating holiday resorts, and while many boats are massive, most of the time you are going to be surrounded by people. Sailing with P&O or Fred Olsen means your fellow travellers are likely to be British. If you want a more European feel, book with Festival or Costa Cruises. Princess, Carnival and Celebrity are traditionally popular with Americans. But what if you're travelling alone? Well, if you want to meet new people, a cruise is quite a good option, because usually there are lots of organised activities and social events. Some larger ships hold cocktail parties for single people and offer to sit them together for dinner. Others offer social hosts for conversation and dancing. So you don't have to be alone. What about sleeping arrangements? Few ships have single cabins, so if you want to avoid that dreaded single supplement, you may end up having to share. But if you'd rather have a bed of your own, there are cabin share programs where the cruise line will pair you up with another single traveller of the same sex, so you can share a twin cabin at no extra charge. Of course, one of the best things about taking a cruise is that you can visit a number of islands or cities while taking your accommodation with you. A typical fortnight tends to include at least 8 or 9 ports, so there's lots of sightseeing to be done. Cruise lines will do their utmost to sell you their excursions, but you're not obliged to buy them. And it's always worth checking where you actually dock to visit the places named on an itinerary. Some ships are so big they may have to moor further out than you'd think. If this is the case, companies will provide transfers, but it all eats into your time ashore. All that sightseeing and sea air is bound to boost your appetite, which is just as well since eating is a huge feature of cruise life. Meals are usually included in the price. But what about tipping? This is a huge bone of contention with holidaymakers. Many feel service should be included in the overall price. Some cruise lines do charge a totally all-inclusive fare, but others add a certain amount per person per day to your shipboard account. You're told you can opt out or alter this amount if you want, but in reality they expect you to pay, and many travellers find it too embarrassing not to. So, say you've booked your cruise and are enjoying all it has to offer. Well, that's the end of the story for thousands of people that take to the sea every year. But some passengers are less fortunate and end up with stomach upsets and contagious bugs. Luckily, most cruise lines do tend to settle cases quickly. In addition, you may be able to get compensation if you can show that the crew reacted slowly to an outbreak of infection or that it failed to prevent it spreading. If that's the case, then get the names of your fellow passengers, because taking legal action as a group is usually more effective than doing it on your own. Finally, what if your liner broke down and suffered a mechanical fault and you lost precious days at sea? What can you do then? Again, with reputations to protect and with the industry being so competitive, many cruise lines work hard to keep customers happy. It's also worth checking, though, to see if you can claim on your travel insurance. In some cases, you may also be able to claim for lack of enjoyment. With the industry expanding and adapting to suit all types of holidaymakers, it's pretty likely there's a cruise out there for you. And your holiday doesn't have to be leisurely, it can be as action-packed as you like. Although after a few days you may surprise yourself that you're actually quite good at doing perhaps absolutely nothing.